In this video, I'm going to teach you what you need to do when you have equations that have variables on both sides of your equation. So the process isn't too difficult. There's just a couple of things that I want to tell you before I show you how to solve. Okay, so let's get started here. There are a couple blanks that we're going to fill in, and it says number one, first collect the variables on the side with the greatest variable coefficient. So that means the number in front of the letter, we want to make sure that we're looking at the greatest side. Then what we're going to do is use the inverse operation on the other side of the equation that has the smaller coefficient, the number in front of the letter. Step number two, you're going to isolate the variable by using an inverse operation. And then what you're going to do is solve. So you're going to get variables moved to one side of your equation so you can solve. Step number three, simplify and solve. And step number four, check your answer to the original problem by using substitution, meaning plug the value back in and check it. And if it checks out, it should work. So I'm going to walk through two examples with you to show you kind of how these steps work. So here's my example one. I have 6x plus 22 is equal to negative 3x plus 31. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at the letters that I have, the 6x on the left side and the negative 3x on the right side. So with my letter terms, my coefficient of 6 and my coefficient of negative 3, I'm just going to identify which one is the bigger one. Well, the 6 is the bigger one, so that means I'm going to move the other variable. Now, you don't have to do it this way, but in my opinion, it's just a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do is use an inverse operation, to move this variable over to this side. So I'm going to start by adding, let me get my pen here. I'm going to add 3x to the left side. So my step would be, number one, add 3x to both sides. Okay, so now this is going to cancel out over here, and now what I will be left with is 6 plus 3x, or 9x plus 22 is equal to 31. Now that I have all my x's on one side of my equal sign, I need to move the constant to the other side. So again, I'm going to do an inverse operation here with this 22. So step number two would be to subtract 22 from both sides. So I'm going to subtract 22. Now I'm going to get my calculator because I just want to show you. So here we have 31 minus 22. So on the right side, I will put a 9. So I have this 9x that's still over here. And now that is equal to 9. So step number three would be to get rid of the coefficient in front of the x. And since 9 is being multiplied by x, 9x's, I'm going to divide both sides by 9. So if I divide by 9, I have x is equal to, well, 9 divided by 9, hopefully you know that, but 9 divided by 9 is 1. So my solution is 1. So step number 4, I solved. Now what you should do is go back, like I said, and check your answer. So real quick, I'm going to do off to the side my check. So if I were to plug 1 back in, 6 times 1, so 6x, if I plug in 1 plus 22, I should get the same thing as negative 3 times 1 plus 31. Well, 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 plus 22 is 28. Is that equal to -3 plus 31? Well, 31 minus 3 is 28. So it worked out great. I'm going to show you one more example here. In this example, we're going to have a distribution happening, because notice how this -2 is being multiplied by a group, and this 4 is also being multiplied by a group. So I'm going to start with, for my step 1, to be distribute. All right, so number 1, distribute. 4 times 1 is 4, and 4 times -x is -4x. Plus 3x is equal to, now -2 times x, and -2 times 1 would be -2x minus 2. So I did my distribute. Now what I'm going to do is simplify. Because I have 2 x terms on the left side here, I'm going to put those together. -4x's plus 3 more x's would be -1x. And the rest of the equation I'm going to leave alone. So there's my simplified. Now what I'm going to do is look at my variable terms. I have -1x, I have -2x, and I'm going to move the smaller one. So identify the greatest one. Well, -1 is bigger than -2, so I'm going to move this -2x to the other side. So step number 3 is going to be add. So my inverse operation is add 2x to both sides. So plus 2x. Now when I simplify, I will have 4 plus 1x is equal to -2. My next step is going to be to get rid of the constant that's next to my variable. So I'm going to take away 4, or subtract 4 on both sides. Now when I simplify, I have my x is equal to -6. So my 5th step was solve. Now what we should do is plug that in and confirm that in my example what I have works out. So over here I'm just going to do my check work. So if I take and plug in -6 everywhere you see the letter x, we should have a true statement. So I have 4. Now in parentheses, 1 minus -6. That's going to make a plus 3x, or 3 times -6, should equal -2. And then in parentheses, plug in my x, so -6 plus 1. Okay, so I have some simplifying to do here. 4 times 7, I'm going to multiply these together here. That's a -18. And -2 times -6 plus 1 is -5. Now I still have some simplifying to do, but we're almost there. All right, on this side, a negative times a negative is going to be a positive 10. And this 4 times 7 will make 28. Is 28 minus 18 equal to 10? Check. Yes, it is. Awesome job.